r/ask Reddit by Redmond ETS. Who in your opinion is a prime example of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain? Philip Pétain. He went from one of France's most respected generals in World War I to the head of the Nazi collaborating Vichy regime. What's particularly unique about him is how old he was when all of this happened. Up to the age of 58, he was just some random colonel nobody had heard of. He was nearly 60 when Verdun happened. Only then he became a respected general and a war hero. His reputation kept growing after World War I and only reached its peak when he was well into his 70s. When he became a Nazi collaborating dictator in 1940, he was already 84 years old. By the time the Nazi regime fell, he had just turned 89. He died at the age of 95 after a couple years of imprisonment. It's definitely Rudy Giuliani. You have to actively be trying to screw up a legacy as a 9/11 hero. Blizzard Entertainment. Fred Phelps of the Westboro Baptist Church spent much of the 60s and 70s as a prominent civil rights lawyer. That's not something I ever expected to read. He was fine with black people. Gays, not so much. Before he died, apparently he visited the gay commune which had been built opposite Westboro Baptist Church, telling them, you know, you're not such bad people. Rumor has it this is one of the reasons the rest of the family excommunicated him. Maybe he was trying to reconcile with God before his inevitable death, but I doubt it. Fred Phelps was always a legal troll, goading people into censoring WBC or denying picketing, so they could then sue for lots of money, which they did several times, and it was very lucrative. O.J. Simpson. Had he not murdered his ex-wife and her boyfriend, he would have likely remained among football's greatest. He may have eventually bought a team and other companies as many other football players do, and his acting career probably would have amounted to something bigger too. Well, unfortunately, he couldn't do that. Now whenever anyone says his name it goes straight to the murders. It doesn't matter that he was acquitted, everyone knows he did it and his career and glory days are forever gone. Rewatching the Naked Gun movies is weird seeing him as an actor doing slapstick comedy and not the murderer he's seen as today. Elon Musk was well liked for a while. Yeah, I remember thinking, oh cool, electric cars and rockets. Weird Twitter feed though, like 7 years ago. Now it's just non-stop cringe from him. Let's not forget that George W. Bush had a 91% approval after 9/11. And in the early stages most people supported the war in Iraq. Also Ellen was respected as an ideal feminist icon, but it turned out she was cruel and vindictive to those under her. Bill Cosby. The worst part was the hypocrisy. I think it was the rape. The Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed won a Nobel Peace Prize a few years ago for his stated intents to bring peaceful harmony and cooperation to Ethiopia's various ethnicities. He then presided over one of the 21st century's most bloody conflicts, the Tigray War, and has recently been saber-rattling against Ethiopia's coastal neighbors to try bully them into giving Ethiopia a port on the Red Sea. Recently he has signed an agreement with the Somali breakaway state of Somaliland to secure a Red Sea port, which has sparked a vehement protest by the main Somali government. Russell Williams. He was a decorated Canadian Air Force pilot, colonel, and commander of Canada's largest Air Force base. He even flew the Queen around when she visited Canada. It turned out that while he was commanding CFB Trenton, he was also moonlighting as a serial killer, rapist and burglar who committed horrific crimes against women. Robert Mugabe. Seen as a hero against the British colonial powers and fought to remove them. And then things took a very significant turn. So true. I was active in the anti-apartheid movement in the 70s and Mugabe was our leader of choice. Now that looks a terrible mistake and even Zappa would have been better. It is my most guilty hindsight of my political life. Had Mao died in 1956, his achievements would have been immortal. Had he died in 1966, he would still have been a great man but flawed. But he died in 1976. Alas, what can one say? Benedict Arnold. distinguished revolutionary general who participated in the capture of Fort Ticonderoga before switching sides to the British. Jimmy Savile. Died a hero. Was a pedophile. Jim Jones. He was a civil rights activist in the 1960s. Then he founded a cult of his own personality and eventually talked 900 people into drinking cyanide. If Pablo Escobar was killed in the early 80s, I could easily see his legacy twisted into something more altruistic. I mean, dude did build schools and hospitals in his community. Sure, he funded it with cartel drug money, but yeah. Jared from Subway. All he wanted to do was get into smaller pants. He went from a mild cholesterol problem to a child molesteral problem. That's all, folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.